Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. His brother Uriah want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashim Mashiach, Malak Yahushua. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers on the highways and byways, making their body living sacrifice. And the rain, the tumults, the demons, the uprisers, the uproars, out there standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty brothers that are not out there as of yet, but they're building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to put themselves in a position to shake the hand, to wake up the hopeful elect. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty Akwaf in this thing, sincerely reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things to the children at home, being quiet, shamefaced, submissive, loving, steadfast, cooking, sewing, cleaning, doing all of the righteous acts of our foremothers, on fire for the Lord. Another strong shalom to all of the Akwaf that are not married as of yet, but building themselves up, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to magnify the Most High in the ministry. Another strong shalom to all of the mighty children in this thing, right? Zealous of good works, on fire, reading, praying, fasting, doing everything they could do to abstain from all lust, concupiscence, and peer pressure, standing 10 toes down for the name of the Lord. And last but not least, another strong shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, reading, praying, fasting, magnify the Most High, His beloved Son Yahweh Shah. There's going to be an in-depth breakdown on slavery in the kingdom. You know, a lot of brothers and or sisters in the last days are looking forward to the kingdom, the mansions, the palaces. They're looking forward to all of the different things and the promises the Heavenly Father through His Son Yahweh Shai has instilled into us. But also we have to have an understanding of how slavery is going to go in the kingdom. A lot of people say, well, slavery isn't going to be that bad. You know, slavery is going to be on this, is going to be that. It's a lot of talk, but we have to go inside of the scriptures as men and women of the Lord to rightly divide the word of truth. Right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, bear with me. Give me a strong con if you can see the screen. God, give me a strong con. Right, if you can see the screen, and then we're going to jump straight into it. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Revelation. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 19. And I'm going to start at verse number 10. Right? It says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. So this angel said, look, I have the testimony of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, man. Worship God, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. And if you have the testimony, the revealing, the understanding of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, then by chance through the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, you will have the spirit of prophecy. And you should want to dive into prophecy. Prophecy is extremely important, man. You want to dive into parables, prophecy, allegories. Your mind and your spirit should be knit to the precepts and the understanding that the Heavenly Father has given to His servants. Right, let me get the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 1. I'm going to get this real quick. It's Revelation, chapter 1, and verse number 1. It said, the revelation of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, which God gave unto him to shew unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent it and sanctified it by his angel unto his servant John. So, I mean, the revealing of the Lord isn't just revelation. The revealing of the Lord is all of the prophecies and the things that are to come, you know, upon this earth. And we have to be zeroed in. We have to be zoned into these prophecies to see what the Lord, you know, is going to reveal and do in the last days upon the earth. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 25. Right. And I want to touch on, you know, through the spirit of bondage. I want to touch on ancient war. Right. I want to touch on tribute. I want to touch on how we're going to take the slaves, how it's going to be, the military formations and campaigns brothers are going to do, the food we're going to serve them in the kingdom, the stature, right, the land restoring its fruit, right, and different things like that of the kingdom, and how that's all prophetically in the scriptures, you know, with timelines and dates, you know, with prophecy going into slavery. Right, let's dive into Leviticus chapter 25. I'm going to start at verse 45. Right, I'm going to start at 44. It says, both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. So we always had heathen around us in the Holy Land, from the Jebusites, the Hittites, and all of those African nations. They've always been around us from the time of David, from the time of Genesis, right in the Garden of Eden, if you have ears to hear, all the way from the time of Saul, right in the Gibeonites, and certain men that he slayed in his zeal, from the time of Joshua, that he perpetually made drawers of wood and servants. You always had the heathen round about us, and that's spiritual. It says, moreover, of the children of Israel, right? I'm gonna read 44 again. Both thy bond and thy bondmaids, which thou shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. It says, moreover, the children of the strangers that sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance. So an inheritance is passed down from generation to generation to generation. You don't have an inheritance that just cuts off unless the Most High cut you off. And the inheritance that the Most High gave us was what? Is the land. Let me get that real fast. So when we got cut off from our heritage, like the precept, when we go in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, that heritage in that specific context is talking about what? It's talking about the land. Let me get that real fast. This is Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. So an heritage is what? It's a possession. It's an inheritance. Let me get that in a blue letter. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17. And I want to start at verse number 4. Right? Now it says, inherit possession. So the Lord cut us off from that. The possession, property, inheritance, heritage, property. So your property is what, man? Your things that you have, your lands. You know, Ephraim has so much. Judah has so much. Benjamin has so much. Naphtali has so much during the time of Joshua, from the 15th chapter all the way out to 24. The different portions and different things that the Heavenly Father has given you, he has given to every portion of people. Now, we got cut off during the time of Jeremiah. And again, that goes into what? An inheritance. So part of us getting cut off as a people is our slaves. Now, a lot of people may say, well, you know, it's not going to be, slavery in the kingdom. People are going to serve, some people, and then they're just going to come up and they're going to give tribute or whatever the case may be. That's not according to the precepts and power and strength of the Most High through Yahweh Shem Yahushua. That's not in the Bible. Now, in the Bible, in Leviticus 25, they're supposed to perpetually be an inheritance. Now, when we got cut off from our heritage, that goes back into the promises, the mercy, the grafting in, right? And us bringing us back to our first estate and the things that the Heavenly Father has given to us from the foundation of the earth. Verse 46, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, and to inherit them as a possession, and they shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule over another with rigor. So the Lord is telling you through the Spirit that you have slaves, even to this very day, even into captivity. 2025, the days that we're living in, where Jacob's poor, we're under the curses, we're living distraught, we're lost, we have no idea about what's going on in prophecy. All we do is trick, laugh, get drunk, have fun, and do lewdness and fornication. Even to this very day, the Heavenly Father is telling you that these people that you look out on the earth, man, they used to sojourn amongst you, these Africans, these different nations that are afar off and or come sojourning, they really belong unto you. You have slaves that are on the loose, even to this very day. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 31. Let's go to Numbers, chapter 31. And I want to start right at verse number 6. And you got to get back to that ancient mentality, man. Stop letting America westernize your mind. Stop letting TV and madness and emotions and feelings and what you feel is right and God bless America and seduction and winery and drunkenness control your mind into a westernized mindset that's not according to the law, statutes, and commandments. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 31 and verse number 6. And Moses sent them to war, 1,000 of every tribe of them, and Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the priest, to war with the holy instruments and trumpets to blow in his hand. So when we went to war, we had it strategically done. We had 1,000 of each man out of every tribe. We sent forth princes. Solomon had different princes. He had officers. He had different men that he was set in their different courses by region to handle affairs, handle matters. You had captains, you had officers. We had rank in Israel, man. We're going to get back to that rank. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. All right, chapter 1 and verse 17. This ancient spirit of officers, captains, rulers, judges, right? These generals, these different mindset of kings is going to come back. And how much more during the time of slavery when we round up things? You had taskmasters. You had a plantation owner. You paid taxes to the governor. You know, you had a president of the United States. That's even in this man's captivity. How much more in the kingdom? You think we're just going to be sitting around grilling all day, sipping wine, man? And these heathens, all you're going to do all day is you be beating them, right? I mean, a lot of men's mind of the kingdom is all jammed. They have no idea of structure, order, prophecy, building, timelines. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, right? And I'm going to start at 15. So I took chief of your tribes. So these are chief men. All you brothers that want to be rulers over these cities, you want to be kings, you want to have tributary coming to you, you want to have the ancient mindset to rule cities and have dominions and slaves unto you, you have to have this mindset to be a chief, one of your tribe, man. When they built up the tabernacles, when they built up the ruins during the time of Nehemiah, during the time you had nobles, during the time of Ezra, you had chief of the fathers in First Esdras, right, the 6th chapter. It says, wise men and known to make them heads over you, captains of thousands and captains of hundreds and captains of 50 and captains over tens and amongst and officers, right, amongst your tribes. And I charge your judges at that time saying, hear the cause between your brethren and judge righteously between every man and his brother and a stranger that is within him. So you're going to have the rank going back to these different things that the Heavenly Father has told you. So I'm going to dive down to verse 8, right? And it says, and they slew the kings of Midian. So when you go to war, chiefly the ancient mindset is to do what? To capture the kings, to take the kings down. When you read the book of Genesis, the 14th chapter, Abraham, he went to war. And it was the 4 kings against the 5. And that's literally war, and kings go against kings. You had during the time of David, let me get this quick precept. It was a time when the kings, they went out to battle, man. They literally went to war. It's a time when the kings, they go to battle. Let me get that real fast. It says, the time when kings go out to battle refers to the spring of the year. So the spring of the year is chiefly the time where kings go out to war. And kings know that. Let me get that in 2 Samuel chapter 11 in verse number 1. It says, and it came to pass after the years was expired at the time when kings go forth to battle. So what's an ancient mentality and tactic that kings go out during the springtime? It says that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel, that they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah, but David tarried still at Jerusalem. So going back to the book of Numbers, chapter 31, and they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Ivah, and Rakim, and Zerah, and Hur, and Reba, and 5 kings of Midian, Balaam also, the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. So when they slay the kings, what do? They have what? They have the spoils that have to be gathered. In order to rule the kingdom of heaven, you have to first and foremost be the elect. I'm going to say that again. To rule and go to war in the kingdom, you have to first and foremost be the elect. The Lord's not having in his army people that are slothful, people that don't want to go to war, right? You secretly love your oppressors. The Most High can't use you, man. Lord said, cursed be he. Let me get that quick precept in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 48. Lord said, happy shall he be that taketh and dash thy little ones into pieces, man. All you men that are super effeminate, you want to save the heathen, you love too much this world. Don't talk to Esau that way, be respectful. Then not the Lord say, love all men. All you brothers are not fit for the ancient mentality and war and spirit that comes behind the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The Lord said he would do unto them according to his anger, man. You think you mad right now. You think you upset. You think you don't read these precepts. You don't think you've been, got on and fired unjustly or beat or something happened to your uncle or your grandfather. You think something that's happened to you, the Most High see it for all things. He said he's going to do unto Edom according unto what? His anger, man. Last time I checked, Lord said he shall cry, yea, roar. He shall prevail against his enemies. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 48 and verse 10. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. So it's an ancient mentality. When you go to war, you have to destroy the kings. You have to take the spoil. It's all in, man. You may not make a home to your wife. You may not make a home to your children, man. Right? Verse 8, it's like in verse 9. And the children of Israel took all the women of Midian captive. That's a part of war. Taking a woman captive, man. And all of these nations, we're going to take their women captive, man. We're going to round them up. We're going to put them in chains. They're going to pare their hair, pare their nails. They're going to mourn, like the law says. You go to the book of Deuteronomy, right, chapter 21, various other precepts, the book of Numbers, chapter 31, right, the book of Zechariah, the 14th chapter, various other precepts. You're going to round these women up, and they're going to be slaves in the kingdom of heaven. And there's nothing they can do about it. However deemly fit, the men of the Lord use them for whatever purpose that is righteous according to the law, those men will do. And their little ones. Children will be slaves, man. You had belly warmers, right, during the time of slavery that sat at so-called the master's bed that they put their feet on as they warmed it up during the winter seasons, as they went to the bathroom, as they checked on the other slaves, or did God knows what, man, or just sat in the bed and they just put their feet on them, man, as they warmed them up. So you're going to take their little ones and their spoil of their cattle and all their flocks and their goods. That's an important part, right, of going to war. And they burned all their cities wherein they dwelt. And they're keeping the law, right, according to the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. Let me get that quick precept. So according to the law, you have to burn their cities. And again, if you want to rule the kingdom, you have to know these laws. You have to know the laws. You have to be a judge. You have to be a king. You have to know the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, man. Let me get this real fast. I'm going to come back to Deuteronomy 20. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, right? And I want to start at verse, this whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at verse number 7. And the hand of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So shalt thou put with the evil from amongst you. And if there arise a matter too hard for thee in judgment between blood and blood, and plea, between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then shall it arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites. So the priests, they execute the judgment. Now, men supposed to know the judgment, but if judgment gets too weightier, that's spiritual, you take it up. You're going to have the 12 that are going to be over to judge, right, the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. So you're going to have rank in the kingdom. So if a matter of judgment, a matter of land, a matter of controversy, anything according to the law, as it is written of old, you're going to bring it up before the judges, the priests and the kings. And unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall shew thee the sentence of judgment. Did not the Lord said he made upon us kings and priests, man? Are we not under the order of Mount Melchizedek? Shouldn't brothers be studying the law? It says, and thou shalt do according to the sentence. What if you don't know the sentence? You just think just beat the heathen or just run away. Well, let me just capture a city. I'm going to fly around in my chariot and see what's going on. No, you're going to have jurisdictions, man. This brother's cities, he may have 5 cities. You may have no business going into his city without checking in and talking to him. because everything's going to be in order in the kingdom. You're not just going to breach places and go places in fairy tale land and let's see what's over the land of the north, right? It says, and thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place, which the Lord shall choose, shall show thee, man. You want to have different men that have laws, jurisdictions, ranks, judgments in their cities over their regions. Now, if I make it, most high willing, by the skin of my teeth, to be able to inherit the things that the Heavenly Father has spoken about, if it be the Most High's mercy, I'm going to have these different things. Now, I'm going to say, I want this right here. You're going to work, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. The women are going to be over here. They're going to be over there. And you're going to have rank, structure, sentence, and judgment. The judgment comes after what? The laws are broken. It says, and shall shew thee, and thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. Right? And if you keep reading, it goes into men that move presumptuously. Presumptuously meaning what? After their own will, their own mind, doing what they want to do. In the kingdom, this is not recess, man. Brother, you have to come to the feast. You have to be in order. You have to teach the nations. You have to rule, man, with an iron fist and a rod, man, of iron. These different things have to be done according to the laws. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 20. And I'm going to start at verse 11. Right? It says, I'm going to start at 10. When thou comest nigh unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it, man. Why proclaim peace? Because I give you a reason to bow before my feet before I chop your head off. You have Artaxerxes, man, right? When you look at that movie 300, he gave Leonidas the opportunity to bow down before him. Really through the spirit, that's an ancient mentality of kings and war, right? Let me get this. Let me see if I could get it. See if I could pull up that image. So right here, brother seen a movie. You literally had, Artaxerxes giving him the opportunity to bow down before war even kicked off. Before a head was chopped off, before all hell kind of broke loose. That's how these ancient kings and the mentality of a king is, man. Keep in mind, the Lord gave us the opportunity to serve him. And what do? We transgress. So we suffered the curses. So in the law, it says we proclaim peace unto that city. And it shall be, if it make the answer of peace and open unto thee, then it shall be that all the people that is found therein should be tributaries unto thee, and they shall serve thee. So on one fold, you have really no reason to overly exert and beat and kill your slaves if they willingly want to serve you. If they willingly want to bow down unto you and serve you, right? The whole reason of beating and breaking them unto subjection. Let me get this quick precept. In the book of Isaiah, Lord said, the nation and kingdom that would not serve thee. Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 60. And I'm going to start at verse 12. For the nation and kingdom that would not serve thee. Why does it say serve thee? Because it's going back to the law in Deuteronomy 20. You have to know these judgments. You have to know these laws. It's not just saying, why won't they serve you? First, you already proclaimed peace to them. They don't want to serve you. They don't want to bow down. They don't want to bring their tribute unto you. The tribute is what? The land that the Heavenly Father has through resources that has accumulated iron, brass, zinc, gold, silver, jasper, onyx, these different things that are in Helvela. When you read the book of Genesis, that are in the mines in Africa, that are all in Russia, man. Russia has one of the most populated flourishes of mine gold in all the world. But you have to know that, man. And you have to know what a gold is. You have to know what a zinc is. And you have to know and evaluate each one of these nations. But let me get this real quick. I don't want to get too much off of the topic. Let me see. Russia's gold mine. Russia has numerous active gold mines, including, right, Olympia mine, which is the country's largest, and Natica and Bolivarian mines. The majority of the country's gold production comes from mines, right? Now, let me see this real fast. What nation largest gold mines? China. So you have China, Australia, Russia. So as a king, as a general, as a captain, as an officer, as a man of the Lord, you're going to have to identify the world. You're going to have to map it out. Now, if your mind is just, all you want is a whip, man. That's all you want. The Lord placed a crown upon you. You're sniffing for a whip. You finally found one, and you're just working out with sweating all day in the kingdom, beating up people, man. It's a very low-level mentality, man. Not that that won't happen. Not that it can't happen. But you should be thinking about the earth, getting it in order, fulfilling the same mentality of a ruler and a king and a soldier as we did in the ancient world. So you have to map out China. You have to map out Russia. You have to map out Australia. You have to map out gold mines. You have to map out the different things that are prophesied in Tobit 13 through 16, the book of Revelation, chapter 21, right? 16 all the way down, how the kingdom of heaven will be built up with the different levels, right? Going back to Deuteronomy chapter 20. And if it will make no peace with thee, but then will make war against thee, then thou shalt besiege it. And these kingdoms are going to make war against you, man. You think all these nations are going to willingly want to come up to Jerusalem, man? No. That's where you break them into pieces. That's where they won't serve you. That's where they don't repent. And you have to govern and get the nation in order. All nations will go into captivity. No matter if you want to serve us or not willingly, you will be a slave. Every nation will be a slave. It says, but the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city and even the spoil thereof shall thou take unto thyself. And thou shalt eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord thy God shall have given thee. Right, let me get down to the point. I mean, this whole thing is fire. This whole thing is fire. I'm going to start at, I ain't trying to read this whole thing. Brothers got to get in there. I just leave it right here through the spirit. Let's go back to it. It says, and going back to Numbers chapter 31, and to burn all the cities therein, they dwelt in all their goodly castles with fire. Right? So you besiege them, you say peace unto them. If they don't, you burn with fire and you take them. And then you take all of their tribute and you take all their women, right, as slaves and all of the cattle. Let's go to the mighty book of Joshua. Let me get a quick precept. Right, let's go to Joshua chapter 7. Right now, I'm touching on the ancient mentality and tactics of war and spoil. Let's go to Joshua chapter 7 and verse 24. It's when they beseech Ai. It says, and Joshua and all Israel with him took Echion, the son of Uriah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedges of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them into the valley of Achor. Slakia. And Joshua said, why hast thou troubled us, man? The Lord shall trouble thee this day, and all Israel stoned them with stones, and burned them with fire, after they have stoned them with stones. So what did he do? He took the Babylonian garment, and he hid it in his tent. So that's spiritual, that you have to burn all of the idols, all the images, so that the towns and the places, they have to be burned with fire. All their cities have to be burned down. Because what's in these cities? Shrines, gold, silver, all of the precious things that these heathens bow down to, their shrines, their pictures, their images, their shekels, their mentality, their spirit that's going to and fro amongst these idols of these nations. You have to burn them down, lest there be a snare unto you. And it's showing you that in the law that you have to burn these things down. Now, again, when you burn down and take and destroy these nations, you're robbing them. And when you rob them, you take their gold and their silver, and you're taking it up to the temple of the Lord, first and foremost, and then you're taking it unto yourself as a spoil to build up your palaces, the things you have. Now, Jerusalem, let me get this real fast. How much gold is in Jerusalem? Salaki, bear with me. There's no specific or current amount of gold in Jerusalem because the city is modern, active, private assets. Right? Ain't no gold in Jerusalem. That's the point, man. Ain't no gold in Jerusalem. Right? You look at gold upon the earth, right? They're going to have to bring gold into it. Right? You look at Jerusalem now, it look like a desert, man. It look bad. No green grass, really. Seem like if the wind start blowing and you cough, you could die, man. That dust getting you, and you start cough, you could cough half to death, man. It looks lifeless because the heathen are dwelling in it. That's the point, right? When you go to the book of John, Salakia, the book of what I wanted, First Chronicles, chapter 26, you take all of the nations gold to build up the things that pertain and belong unto the Lord. This is the book of First Chronicles, chapter 26, and verse 27. Out of the spoils won in battle, and we're going to win all our battles when the Most High leads us into war, did they dedicate to maintain the house of the Lord. So how did the house of the Lord get maintained? You read the book of Leviticus, Salakia, Exodus 25. How was this brought? Where did it come from? The silver, the gold, the blue, the scarlet, the fine linen, the goat's hair, all of these, the anointing oils, right? Well, first and foremost, they were brought willingly as an offering amongst where we sojourned and gathered and traveled. But two, we took of the spoil of the Egyptians, meaning we robbed them blind. We took them and then we built up the tabernacle. Then we melted down the gold. From melting down the gold, we purified it through the spirit of all the spirit of the Egyptians. That's why gold has to be melted and purified. Your gold. You have to be melted down from the philosophies, the doctrines, the sex, the lies of fornication, the evilness of Christianity, the Roman Catholicism, and all lies that you have wrought and found and been instilled into you in this land of Egypt right now, man. And when we're burnt down, we're made a new lump. We're made pure gold. We took the gold from the Egyptians, we melted it down, and we used it in righteousness. Again, that's an ancient tactic mentality of war. You take from these different areas where silver is, where iron is, where zinc is, where brass is. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 3, and verse number 22. But every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment, and ye shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians. Right? Let me read that again. It's the book of First Chronicles 26 and 27. Out of the spoil won in battles did they dedicate to maintain the house of the Lord. So they took all of the spoils and they used it to dedicate the house of the Lord. Right? And again, these nations are rich in different areas because the Lord has put, let me get that in the book of Job, chapter 28. All right? Their own inheritance. It's Job chapter 28 and verse 2. I'm going to start at 1. Surely there is a vein, so like a vein for silver and a place for gold where they find it. Surely there's a place where you can find gold, man. You got to know where that is. These nations know where it is. Why do you think Trump is trying to invade Venezuela, man, for their oil? Because they know exactly, each king knows exactly their resources and places where different nations thrive. They know where their resources are. And the Lord says, surely, right? It says, there is a vein for silver and a place where gold they shall find it. Iron is taken out of the earth and brass is molten out of the earth. So it's taken out of the earth. So when we start to set these things up, we start to create our palaces, we start to dedicate through the law and what's prophesied in the revelation, how the kingdom should be looking. What are we doing as kings and generals, man? As priests, as captains, as officers. We're diving in according to the law, maximizing and looking at the earth diving in and spoiling what military campaign, man. You don't just go to war just because you feel like it, man. Somebody looked at you wrong, charge, and everybody's going to war and everybody's slaying and killing. This is not the movies, man. Right? They have an interrogation room, right? Interrogation room. And they have different rooms where they get on people, man. Where's the drugs? Where's the stuff at? Who's there? Who's where? And they get on you. And they interrogate the hell out of you. Next thing you know, people giving people up. All right, it's really on 4th Street. That's where we can find all the drugs. All right, it's really on 9th. It's really up top. It's really down bottom. It's really on the East Coast, the West Coast. They interrogate them, man. We're going to map out this earth to the T. Every place that's never been lifted up, found out, shredded, moved, we're going to be the ones, if it be the Most High's mercy, that 1/3, chiefly the 144,000, to figure those things out. That's what kings do. Before kings go to war, right? You can read about that. I mean, I don't have to pull all these precepts. I'm trying to stay. I got a lot I want to dive into. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. Let me get 1 or 2 more on that before we move on to the next. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 33. First things first is strategy, right? And always had that mentality as a king, right? This is the mighty book. Get this real quick. Right, the mighty book of Exodus. So I can bear with me. It's Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled. So it's actually a sin and wickedness and iniquity to spoil many people if you've never been spoiled, man. Isn't America called the virgin daughter of Babylon? Why is it a virgin? It's not a virgin because it hasn't been, fondled, because America's the chief whore. Why is it a virgin? Because it's never been bombed. It's never been touched. It's never been spoiled. It's never been invaded. It's never been taken down. That's what makes you understand, defiled. And dealest treacherously. And thou didst, though not treacherously with thee, when thou shalt cease to spoil. Thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Man, talking about us, man. We're going to deal treacherously with you. We're going to take everything from you. O Lord, be gracious unto us. We have waited for thee, but thou their arm every morning, our salvation also to the time of trouble. Right? Let me jump to verse 4. And your spoil should be gathered like the gathering of a caterpillar. That's going to take time, man. How are we going to gather it? We're not just going to go up with all of the gold inside of the chariots, right? We're going to have slave ships, voyages. We're going to have navy ships, and we're going to go out. This is prophecy. Isaiah the 60th chapter, Joel the 3rd chapter, right? Many other precepts, and I'm going to dive into it most high willing, how you're going to gather spoil, how you're going to rule sections, how you're going to gather slaves, how this is going to be done. Again, you're not going to be dropped down in the second wilderness. But the Lord place a crown upon your head. You take the crown and you just start breaking off running, man. The world is yours. And everybody starts running. You go this way, you go that way. Like when you was a kid, man. Right? Everybody run to the bed. Whoever get the bed first, that's your bed, man. Everybody at the Airbnb, who it's only 2 beds left. Everybody runs. It's 3 brothers there. We run as whoever get the bed first, man. It's not whoever get the land first. Whoever finds it out first. It says, and your spoil should be gathered like the gathering of it, the caterpillar. See, the caterpillar have many arms and legs. And the running to and fro of locusts should be the running upon them. Because there are many locusts, right? They're like bands of warriors of an army. Right, let's go to the mighty book of Zechariah. Get this quick precept. Let's go to the mighty book of Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 14. And I want to start, right, at verse number 1. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. Again, Spoil is extremely important. That's the reason and way we're going to gather the things up of the earth to build up the kingdom. Let's go to the book of 1 Kings chapter 5. It's 1 Kings chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse number 15. I'm going to start at 13. It says, and King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel. For brothers that don't know what a levy is, let's go into it. Brothers may or may not know what a levy is. Right? It says a gang or a body of forced laborers. So Solomon in the spirit is Yahushua. He's the prince, he's of David, the king. He's literally, his name means peace. He's the king of peace. Through his years, there were no wars, wrought peace upon the earth. He built it up. You understand the tabernacle, the temple. It's spiritual. So during the time of Solomon, you had slaves unto him. Gang or body of forced workers, task workers, labor, band or gang of forced service, task workers to form tribute, levy, taskmasters, discomforted, right? So a gang of overseers, forced service, right? Let me get that real fast. Let's go back to it. It says, and King Solomon raised a levy out of all Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. Imagine having 30,000 slaves, man. What would a brother do with 30,000 slaves? Really think about it, man. Because if you're on a low level, all you're going to say is beat them. That's all you're going to think. Or have them doing jumping jacks. You know how much work need to be done? How much land you may have to possess? You have to be creative. You got to put them to work, man. Every laborer has to be put to work. Let me get this quick precept. I'm going to come back to that. You have to be put to work, man. And when they gainsay and go against the gods, you strike them, you beat them, you torture them, man. Right? I mean, you can make the side of an evil servant to bleed, man. Let me get this quick precept. Let me get this quick precept. This is the mighty book of Sirach, right? Chapter 42. And I'm going to start. This whole thing. These are things to not be ashamed of, right? This is the book of Sirach, chapter 42 and verse 1. Of these things be thou not ashamed, and accept no persons to sin thereby. So you can sin if you don't do this, right? Let me dive down right to verse 5. And of merchants and indifferent selling, of much correction of children. So, you can't be ashamed to get on a merchant of indifferent selling. He's flipping prices. He's going off. He's saying it's really this, but you bring it home, it breaks, and you should be ashamed to say anything by getting hoodwinked, overthrown, bamboozled, man. Right? Of much correction of children, man. Can nobody tell you beating your children too much? Those are your children. Whatever laws you deem fit to rule your house, how the Most High is put in your spirit, can't no man correct you in that or overthrow you. You can't be ashamed of teaching them the laws of God, and when they transgress, you beat them. And to make the side of an evil servant to bleed, man. Meaning, if these nations act up and go off and transgress against the laws of God and the laws of your kingdom, how you're ruling it, right, in the respective regions and cities the Most High has given you, you can beat them, huh? Not only can you beat them, you can make them bleed. Right? That's a lot of strokes. It's a lot of judgment. The Lord said, this is a book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 28, an ungodly witness, scorn of judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devour with iniquity, man. So they just love iniquity, love to eat it. It overthrows them, right? They're killing themselves. They don't care because they love evil. Judgments are prepared for scorners. What is a scorner? Somebody always going against, gainsaying, being brutish against the stature and the order of the government. Lord said judgments are prepared for you, man. You think it's going to happen in this society if you keep stealing. Judgments. You keep murdering, you keep killing. Judgments. Judgments will be in the kingdom. They're prepared for scorners and the stripes for the back of fools. And Esau is the chief fool, man. That's Proverbs, like that's Job chapter 30 and verse 8, man. Lord say he's a fool, man. Let me get that real fast. Then I'm gonna go back to it. So you're gonna have to beat these nations, man. You're gonna wake up and just beat them just because? Probably not, right? I mean, that's not necessarily. They're gonna be working from sun up to sundown, right? And I want to touch on that. It says they were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. So what is this talking? It's talking about Esau, chief fool of the earth, man. So these judgments and stripes are prepared for fools, and he's the chief fool. Let's go to the book. One more. Proverbs chapter 26. Proverbs chapter 26 and verse number 3. A whip for the horse. So literally a whip goes with a horse, because the horse ain't just going to start running. It ain't a mind reader, right? Those hairs in the back of his head aren't antennas that pick up your thought process, man. You have to have a whip and a bridle for direction. So you whip it and it moves. A bridle for the ass and a rod for the fool's back. So you're going to have to beat their back in, man, and whip them. You understand? That's literally in the statutes of the scriptures and in the judgments and in the laws. So when he levied out these men, 30,000, and he sent them to Lebanon, Salaki, and he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by course. See, Solomon was ruling his kingdom, man. When you think about these kings, man, like, damn, what if 30,000 men were under me? You know how dedicated you have to be to your kingdom? The Lord said, let me get this quick precept in the book of Luke. It's time for men to get back to that king estate, man. Don't let nobody tell you not a king, even in your poor estate, even in you not having a physical kingdom, man. You're still a king. Because what makes you a king is you keeping the law, statutes, and commandments and having the mind of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. This is the book of Luke, chapter 16. And I want to start, Salaki, at verse, Salaki, bear with me, 10. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. So if you're faithful over the little things you have, your children, they're well fed, they're taken care of, you're getting these nations in order, telling them their judgments, you faithful going to camp every weekend, you go to work every day, you wake up at a decent time, you teaching your children, your wife, you over the possessions that the Most High has given you in this life, you're faithful over it. And, right, the faithful in least is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in least is unjust in much. Your children running away. You don't know where your wife at. You getting fired every other 3 months, man. You can't keep a job. You're all over the place. Your spirit not right. It says, if therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, man. Brothers can't even keep $25 in their pocket. You can't even pay your bills, man, on time. You're always borrowing from your mother. You're always on the phone with your grandmother. Your grandmother's always, asking, stop again, Richard. Right? You're always asking you're always Western Union, Cash App. You're always trying to take money from people. If you're not righteous over the affairs and the faith that the Most High has given you in this life, the Lord said, who will commit to your trust the true riches, man? And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own, man? You can't even take that watch and give it back to the brother that he lost. You can't even help a brother with matters of whatever the case may be to fix his car. And you can't even be faithful over another man just to help out. Who's going to give you your own substance, man? You had to have that mentality. So Solomon ruled his kingdom in order. It says, behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel. Salaki, that's not what I want. 1 Kings chapter 5 and verse number 15. And Solomon had 70,000 that bare burdens, and 80,000 hewers in the mountains. So these hewers in the mountains, let's go to Joshua. You add the different men. I mean, it tells you when you read on. These different men, right? When you go to 1 Kings, I believe the 9th chapter. Let me get this quick precept. And you diving into this thing. I'm going to go to 1 Kings chapter 9 and verse, I'm going to read too much. Thing's crazy. I'm going to start at 22. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots and his horsemen. These were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bear rule over the people that wrought in the work. So you're going to have rank, and they're going to bear rule over them. But Pharaoh's daughter came up the city of David unto her house, which Solomon had built for her. Then did he build Millo. And then 3 times a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he had built unto the Lord. And he burnt incense upon the altar which was before the Lord. So he finished the house. And King Solomon made a navy of ships, right? So he made a navy of ships, man. He had multiple ships that voyaged out to gather all of the different woods and the different materials, right, to build up the kingdom. Now, I want to touch on that. It says, which besides Athoth and the shore of Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Haran sent in the navy his servants and shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, right, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold 420 talents. So he set them to work. He set up the navy of ships. Those men went out. They gathered the gold. They gathered the talents. They gathered the different minerals and the different things that help build up Solomon's kingdom. That's going to be the same way we build up the kingdom in the last days. And he had hewers in the mountains. So they would go up in the mountains and they would gather wood. There will be drawers of waters as well. Let's get that in the book of Joshua, chapter 9. Right, let's go to Joshua chapter 9. And I'm going to start right at verse number 23. Now, therefore, ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be free from being bondmen and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. And that answered Joshua and said, because it is certain, he told thy servants how that the Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. And they were so afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Check this out. And now, behold, we are in thine hand, as it have good thy right unto thee, do unto us, do, man. And they're going to willingly have to get down or be put to death. Read on. It says, and he unto them delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, that they slew them not. This is the point. And Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and drawers of water, of the congregation and of the altar, right, for the Lord, even unto this day, in the place which he shall choose. So they're perpetually servants, perpetually bondmen, perpetually bondwomen that belong unto the nation of Israel to this very day. So when he made these men hewers of wood, drawers of waters in the mountains, it says, and beside the chief Solomon's officers, which were over the work, 3,300, which ruled over the people that wrought in the work. And the king commanded that they brought great stones, costly stones, and hew stones, and laid the foundation of the house. You think that was easy, man? You think big boulders and big bricks is easy? I want to look that up, man. It said hew stones, man. These stones were extremely heavy. Look at the stones. And in the law in Deuteronomy chapter 27, they couldn't put no rock or no iron tool, rather, upon the altar as they break those things down. Those things were carried by hand. Let's get that in the law. You're not going to have machinery in the kingdom. You're not going to have Bob the Builder. He's sitting up there with a damn beer in his hand, man. And all he's going to be is in his motor vehicles. Right? He's going to be yanking that little joystick back and forth with that ball swinging. You say, well, get to work, boy. And he with a cigar in his hand. And he blow the smoke and he yanked the joystick, man. No, they're going to have to physically be building. Physically. This is going to be very, very, very laborious work, man. And again, like I said, I got so much I want to dive into. A kingdom isn't built overnight. And I got, it through the spirit I wanted to dive into. But let me get this quick precept before we have a precept overload. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27. And I'm going to start at verse, this whole thing's crazy. We'll start at 5. And there shalt thou build an altar unto the Lord thy God, an altar of stones, and thou shalt not lift up any iron tool right upon them. Thou shalt build the altar of the Lord thy God of whole stones, and thou, right, Shalaki, build the altar of the Lord with whole stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereunto the Lord thy God. So you have to take these stones, these huge stones, for foundations, and they will have to move them. And that's going to have a lot of back sores, a lot of problems, a lot of tendon ruptures. They may break bones out there. They may be sitting up there bleeding. They may have spasms. They may be fainting. This thing ain't going to be nothing sweet. This ain't going to be for the weak. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 6. It's 1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 37. Now, this is when Solomon had thousands of slaves. Thousands of slaves, man. This is the book of 1 Kings chapter 6 and verse 37. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of the Lord laid in Mount Ziph. And in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is in the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts thereof. And according to all that fashioned it, so was it 7 years in building. So with thousands and thousands of slaves, it took 7 years to build that up, man. With navies of ships, bringing in gold, all of those things, military. He had his officers, he had his captains, he had the different princes, he set the order. That still took 7 years. That's a very, very long time. I mean, you look at this man's society, Salaki, jumping the gun. Right? It says it has taken the United States over 300 years to build its road network. So when you're trying to figure out why you're lost and you're taking a truck, taking a car, you're going all the way up in the mountains, and you're wondering, this road never ends. You're going all the way back down to the city. You're on 301. You're on Route 4. Right? You're on 495. You're on 95. You're on 97. You're on all these roads. If you know any of those roads that lead into your cities and countries. It says it took over 300 years to build, and construction is still ongoing. There is no single end date. So it took over 300 years to build up America's road system, their railroads. When you look at the Great Pyramid, right, one of the 7 wonders of the world, right, I want to look at this real fast. It says, the oldest 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one that survived today, the Great Pyramid of Giza, was constructed as a tomb for Egyptian pharaoh Khufu, right? And precise details regarding the pyramid's construction remain a mystery, as there are no written records been found, but a number of estimate places, right? Salakia. So the pyramid initially rose about 481 feet, making it the world's tallest man-made structure for thousands of years, right? Jumping down, covering an area of 13 acres. The massive monument was designed and aligned with points of compass built with an estimate 2.3 million stones, man. 2.3 million stones. The workforce is thought to have consisted of thousands of skilled tradesmen and paid laborers, as opposed to slaves. Look at this, man. 2.3 million stones. You think this happened overnight? Building up the kingdom will not be an overnight process, man. Why? Because it's going to take away from the spirit of slavery. Can the Most High do it? Yes. The Most High can do anything, man. Most High can have it come down in their palaces and all they got is a little shrimp, that small gown on, and they serving you like that. I mean, the Most High can do anything. But it's going to take away from the slavery, the hard work, the bondage, the recompense, the enjoyment, the joy, the mirth, the incitement of them doing exactly what you did thousands of years ago, man. Again, it took 300 years. Not that I'm putting a timeline on how long the kingdom is going to be built, because only the Lord knoweth. But just showing you these kingdoms of us being slaves into how long it took for us to build them up. How many stones? Think these stones are just right there for them to just pick up? No, they're going to have to travel. Bring stones back. Trail of Tears. It says, estimates suggest the project took about 2 decades to complete, man. I mean, look how we were slaves in ancient Egypt, right? For over 400 years. Let's go to the mighty book of 1 Kings. Let me get one more on that. 1 Kings chapter 9. I'm going to touch on that one more point, right, that I already read. And these were the chief of the officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bear rule over the people that wrought the work. So you won't have to bear rule. Man. I'm going to make sure they're consistently working and they're doing what they ought to and taking care of the business affairs of building up the kingdom. Now, I'm going to let's go to Zechariah chapter 9. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 9. This is Zechariah chapter 9, and I'm going to start at verse number 1. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord in the land of Ephrath and Damascus shall be the rest thereof, when the eyes of man, as all as the tribes of Israel, should be toward the Lord. So again, this is prophecy, right? It says, and Hamath also shall be bordered thereby, Tyrus and Zidon, though it be very wise. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold and heap up silver as the dust, and find gold as the myrrh of the streets. So they took and they stole and they built up strongholds, heaped up silver as dust and golds. Behold, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. Meaning in the ancient world, you had Tyrus, you had Tarshish, which was in Spain, which was a heavy port where they did a lot of trade during the time of Jonah, right, in Joppa, right, during the time we read Isaiah 23, the book of Ezekiel 27, Zechariah 9. It's a lot of precepts going against Tyrus and the ports and Tarshish, you know, as they did different trade. You know, Tarshish was extremely important during the time, or the prophecy rather, of Isaiah the 60th chapter. Right, let me get that real fast. Isaiah chapter 60. This is Isaiah chapter 60. Right, and I'm going to start at verse. I'm going to come back to Zechariah 9. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Right, meaning what? Arise, shine, meaning now is us time to inherit the things the Most High has promised to us years ago. The promises, the glory, the inheritance. Now it's time for us to shine, because we've been in darkness all our life, man. It says, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth. Meaning while we're arising and shining, everybody else is going to be covered with darkness, slavery, bondage, right? All of the different things that they've inherited all the time they've been on the earth. Now it's time to reversal for them to be in darkness and gross darkness, the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Meaning every nation and kingdom is going to know that the children of Israel, so-called Black Hispanics and Native Americans are God's chosen people. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light. Doesn't mean that come to thy light. It's not talking about they come into the law, statutes, and commandments. See, people breaking down the scriptures wrong, man. The Gentiles are the other nations. Them coming to our light is what? Arise, shine, for thy light is come. We're the light, meaning they're coming into us. They're yielding forth their strength, and they're being bondmen and bondwomen, and they're coming to our light. Our light is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Noah, Ezekiel, our forefathers, our foremothers, the elect, the 1/3, the 144,000. They're going to see the light of the earth, the men, women, and children that are elected, and they're going to come into it. It's not talking about they come into the light of your house. I finally want to repent. I finally want to get my life right. These nations know not the Most High. They know not these laws, nor these commandments, nor these statutes. And the only time in the scriptures ever, last time I read, where these nations did want to convert is through the fear of the Most High, through the judgments at the time. It was never sincerely through the mercy that the Most High has put in their spirit to just want to serve him. During the time of Ruth, it was a famine. During the time of Achior, it was war, man. And all hell breaking loose. I mean, we could go all day with these different nations, man. It's never sincerely. So when they come to our light, that means they're coming into us. And kings to the brightness of thy rising. So as we're rising up, kings of this earth are going to come unto us, lifting up their eyes round about, right? And see all they that gather themselves together, meaning of all the four corners, these nations. This is during the time of the kingdom being built up. Look, meaning evaluate the isles, the four corners of the earth, the east, the west, the north, the south, and see how these nations and the kings of the earth are coming into you, coming into Jerusalem, not coming to worship and bow down and just worship in the temple. No, they're bringing again their tributary, their gold, their silver. This is the process of building up the kingdom. Again, it says, lift up thine eyes round about and see all they that gather themselves. You know how hard it is and how long it is for a voyage on a sea to come to and fro? Again, this will take time. It says, and thy son shall come from afar, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then shalt thou see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged because of the abundance of the sea. You know, early on, I said through the Spirit, how they're going to be traveling in the kingdom is by ships. All them helicopter days is over. All the planes, Spirit, American Airlines, it's over. Ford, whatever it's called, Frontier, it's over. It's a wrap. We're getting back to the ancient days where you're going to be on ship, on sea, where the Most High manipulates the elements in the sea, the tides, the different fluents, the whirlpools, the waves. And they're going to come from afar, bringing their tribute, man. You know, look at this. This is your classic imports, you know, from Spain to America, with those caravans and those, you know, different things where they're bringing in all sorts of things from each cities, because America's the new Tyre and Zidon. But they're going to be doing this, but instead of, you know, it being a so-called white man doing whatever he wants to do in the sea, it's going to be governed by the elect. And they're going to be bringing in their tribute, their gold, their silver, their brass, their iron, or anything we need that's prophesied of how the city will be built up. And even if it's not in your respective region, go find it, go get it, go work and bring it to the men of the Lord, man. Right? It says, enlarged because of the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee, and the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. Forces of the Gentiles. What does the word forces mean? For brothers that don't know. Because the forces of the Gentile, that's your spoil. The things that are going to be gathered, your silver, your substance, that's going to be gathered and given to the men of the Lord. Right, let me get this real fast. that word forces. Strength, mighty efficiency, wealth. So what is going into the wealth, the strength that they're going to bring? So all the different places that made them high, that made them strong, that had them resources, you're going to bring it to us. The multitude of camels shall cover thee, and the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, and all they from Sheba shall come. And they shall bring gold and incense, and they shall shew forth the praise of the Lord. Because the camels, the dromedaries, and the gold are in Arabia. And they're bringing that from Sheba. And the flocks of Kedar, right? Again, of these different Arabian nations should be gathered together unto thee, and the rams of Naboth, right? Which is another Arabian place and people, right? You can read about that in, I believe, First Maccabees, chapter 5. So again, these are the nations of the Arabians bringing in their camels, their gold, their different substance, their gold. Let me get this real fast. First, Maccabees chapter 5, 25, I believe. It says, where they met with the Nabathites, right, who came unto them in a peaceable manner, right? This is in the Greek, right? But in the Hebrew, the rams of Naboth shall minister unto thee. So we're going to take their cattle, who came unto them peaceable manner, and told them everything that they have happened to their brethren in the land of Gilead. So we're going to take their cattle. It says, and minister unto thee, they shall come up with acceptance on mine altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory, man. How long would it take to bring in these bullocks, these sheeps, all of these rams? It says, who are these that fly as a cloud and as a dove to the windows? And then they're coming from afar. Surely the owls shall wait for me. The owls are them that are afar off. And the ships of Tarshish. Again, Tarshish is an ancient port. Tarshish in the Bible is a place that is commonly associated with Spain, right? You know, some scholars would say Spain. Some scholars would say Turkey. But in the context of the scriptures, you know, most of the time it's talking about Spain. Right? I want to get this real quick. This is your ancient Phoenician inhabitants, Tarshish, where all of the different imports and outports were coming in from Greece, Macedonia, Egypt, Asia, right? North Africa, from the different parts of the earth. So we're going to be likened unto Tarshish. And everything got brought into these places. All those things will be brought into us. So we're going to be likened unto that import and that export that those men did trade during that time. And the ships of Tarshish first to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Lord thy God, to the Holy One of Israel, because he have glorified thee. Right? It says, and strangers, the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto me. And when it says they shall build up thy walls, what does that mean? Let's go to the book of Tobit. Let's go to the book of Tobit, chapter 13. Now, first and foremost, in the kingdom, we're going to have battlements. It's an ancient way we keep our fortified cities and places of dwelling. Let me get that real fast. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22 and verse 8. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement. Again, a battlement is used in the ancient world so that if a man is on your roof, you don't bring blood upon your house, meaning he won't fall. Or if war kicks off, it'll be fortified for him to be protected and lean against it, lest any bloodshed should be upon you. So they're going to have to know how to build battlements, man. Them skyscrapers, you're looking like this. You're trying to get to the, go see your so-called boss, you got to go to the 15th floor, the 19th floor. You want elevators, all of that ancient, so like all of that stuff, they got glass and different shapes of how they do their architectural work in these cities All of that is going to be done away. We're going to go back to the ancient way and the law of how the Lord has said these cities should be. Because it really, again, everything is mapped out off of the ancient warlike spirit and mentality. That's why battlements are there for war. Strongholds. So as they're building up our walls, they're going to have to know these things. And you got to know that. Now, if you make it, the law will be in you. I'm figuratively speaking. But nevertheless, through the spirit, you have to know that. You have to know how to how it's going to be built. The battlements, the materials. Let's go to Tobit chapter 13 and 16. For Jerusalem shall be built up with sapphires and emeralds and precious stones. Thy walls and towers and battlements with pure gold. So as we look at what we're just going into, this has to be gold. Like a true kingdom is supposed to look. Like these ancient castles. Right? You look at what they got, I don't know, them Disney movies. I can't even say what it is. Pazunzel or something like that. All right, and these ancient fairy tale where they have these castles in these places, man. You look at Thor, the movie Thor. Ashdod. I think that's something to that, which makes no sense. He's a Greek. He's an Edomite with a Ashdod with a makes no sense. But look at this. Right? I mean, they have it somehow, some similar somewhat. But at the cities. That castle-like mentality, that spirit of how it's going to be built up of an empire. See Thor right here? And then look at this. The ancient battlements upon the city. Because every kingdom has to be fortified. When you look at America, man, you look at the capital, it looked like a joke, man. Where's the fortified cities? That's how you know that's not where the president of the White House. There's no fortified city. No fortified place, just a black gate. That's how you know that's not where he's dwelling. That's a piss poor way to have a kingdom, especially according to the law. So it says, going back to the book of Tobit, it says, "And the streets of Jerusalem shall be paved with beryl and carbuncle and stones of Ophir. And all the streets shall say hallelujah, and they shall praise him, saying, Blessed be God, which have exalted, right, it forever." So the way it has to be built up, brothers have to know these things. Let's go to the book of Revelation to map it out and build it out for these slaves to know. See, slaves ain't gonna know nothing, man. Who's the teachers of the earth? Who's the governors? Who the leaders? You are. You have to know to instill the structure of the kingdom. This isn't whatever your Hebrew name is, Zion. This isn't Zion's time to just finally be Zion. You know, I just want to chill with my 55 concubines all day in my castle. Just want to get fed watermelon and lust, man. No, a prime and part of building up the kingdom is getting the nations in order. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of lashes, a lot of beating, a lot of structure, a lot of diligence, performance, strategic mapping out. Because even during the time of the law, when the children of Israel built the tabernacle, I want to get this quick. In the book of Exodus, Moses had to give the okay before everything was done. And Moses, is the leader. He was like the king. So as they were building and they were getting everything in order, he had to give the okay that it was okay, right, through the spirit, from it being mapped out and given to him by the Most High. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 39 and verse 32. Right? Thus was all the work of the tabernacle of the tent and the congregation finished And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so did they. So whatever Moses told the children of Israel did, and they finished the congregation, the tent of the congregation. Whose job was it to strategically, diligently teach them and show them how it had to be mapped up, how many pins had to be here, how the curtains had to lay, how the brass had to be, what came before that, what came after that? Moses. You're going to represent Moses in the spirit, man, the leader, the teacher. And they brought the tabernacle unto Moses, the tent and all the furniture, right? And the tatches and his borders and his bars and his pillars and his socks. Now I'm going to jump down to the second to the last verse. It's the point. According to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so the children of Israel made all the work, and Moses did look upon all the work. So after they made it, what did he do? He examined it. Okay, well, this is right. Okay, this isn't right. Okay, I think you should remove that. Didn't I say use this instead of using that? It was up to Moses to give the okay before it was completely sealed to be done. What are you going to do in the spirit, man? You're going to be a type of brother that just runs his kingdom any kind of way? He a slave is sneakily putting down Jasper when he's supposed to be putting oxen stones, man. You have to grab him up and choke him. And you have to lay those judgments to that scorner's back, man, and beat him. And you have to tell him to make it all over again, man. Here you want it like this, but he's making it like this, man. Again, all of this has to be done. Now, where are you going to find these big pieces of gold? 9 times out of 10, you're not. This gold has to be collectively gathered, then it has to be melted together to make larger lumps. So again, I mean, all of this is going to take time. And you're going to have to foresee and diligently oversee the situation as a taskmaster in the kingdom, huh? And Moses took, it's like a look upon all the work, and behold, they have done it as the Lord had commanded. Even so, they done it, and Moses blessed them, huh? It's like, Moses blessings, all praise to the Most High. You know what? You did a good job. Everything's in order. You know, we're going to move forward with this through the Spirit. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse. So the thing is far. I'm going to start at 14. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations. Right? Now, the 12 foundations represent the 12 apostles. But again, you're going to have foundations that need to be laid in the kingdom. And in them, the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Jumping down right to the verse 19. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with manner of precious stones. And the first foundation was jasper, and the second sardius, and the second colander, and the fourth emerald. So you're going to have these different emeralds and precious stones that are laid. Pearls will be laid. You understand? The gate was one pearl, like the scriptures say. So these things have to be diligently mapped out and strategically done. Right? Let's go back to Zechariah 9. I wanted to touch on that. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 9. Right? And I want to start at verse 5. Ashkelon shall see it and fear, and Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful. And Ekron, for her expectation, should be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. So the same way we've got removed out of our land, the Lord is saying the same way these different nations and these Philistines, which were one of our chief enemies, which are really the Africans, going back, they're going to remove out of their land, and a bastard should dwell in Ashdod. A bastard meaning a mixed people. So the same way mixed people live in our land, that's the judgment that's going to be laid against the so-called Philistines, man. That invaded our land to this very day through God knows what, and mix with multitudes of people and defile it. It says, and a bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines, and I will take away his blood out of his mouth. So in that day, he's no longer going to be defiled. It's really going into the sacrifices because they eat blood and they do odious works of witchcraft, like you read about in Wisdom of Solomon, the 12th chapter. Let me get this quick precept. Right? Let me get this quick precept in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Lord said he wanted to take his blood out of his mouth because he just won't stop drinking and eating blood, man. These Africans are nasty. They're disgusting. They're wicked. Right? This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, right? In verse 4. Whom thou hatest, the Lord hates them for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murders of children and devourers of man's flesh and feasts of blood. So these nations, their judgment is going to have to get back to their first estate, their righteous estate of us, man. You think that Moabite going to want to stop eating frog, man? Think these Africans are just going to immediately stop drinking blood? You think any of these things are going to just immediately happen as soon as the kingdom happens? Just because you want a glorified body, you got the laws on your inward part. The Lord is physically on the earth, doesn't stop the cogitation and mentality of these nations, man. The Lord said that their mentality, their cogitation can never be changed. Some of their cogitations and mentality could never be changed. Their mind will always think a certain way because they're inbred to think and do evil. So you have to beat them, force them. It says, and I will take away his blood out of his mouth and his abominations from between his teeth. His rats, his frogs, his raccoons. Again, this is when judgment is righteous upon the earth. These are the problems Jake gonna have to have, man. You're not just gonna be whipping with us, just whip, man. You have to be over these people, man. It's work, but it's righteous work. You know, you're not going to be overthrown, for lack of better terms. It's going to be work. See, any husbandman, let me get this quick precept in 2nd Esdras. Every husbandman is responsible for the husbandry, whether that's your wife, whether that's your children, whether that's your congregation, whether that's you specifically. Every man's responsible of his husbandry and the spirit he wrought and brings forth, right? Let me get this quick precept. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 9 and verse 17. And he answered me, saying, like as the field is, so is the seed. So if the field is, moisturized, it's fertile, it's nice, it's damp, right? You've broken into it, the fallow ground, so will be the seed, meaning it will bring forth life. As the flowers be, such as the colors. And you can't have certain flowers without having that vibrant color along with it, because that's the spirit of the flower. Such as the workman is, such also is the work. So whatever workman you are will benefit your kingdom. That's Sirach chapter 10 and verse 1. As is the judge, so is the officer, man. You got a wicked judge, then who's bringing them the wicked money under the table? The officer, man. Cutting deals, doing wickedness, slothfulness in the city. Slaves doing whatever they want in the city, man, running away, doing God knows what, man. And as the husbandman is himself, so is his husbandry also, for it's the time of the world. So you're going to be a representation, again, of the spirit of the Most High's kingdom. And if you make the kingdom and you're one of the 144,000 and even the 1/3, you will have the spirit of the Most High in you to know these precepts, know what needs to be done. In that wicked mentality or a low level, foolish mentality of just having concubines, not that brothers actually, thank God forbid, just have concubines and beat slaves. That's all the kingdom will be. That's going to be removed. And you're going to have to go inside of these nations from all of these prophecies that you read about, from taking away their unclean foods, to teaching them the laws, for them building up ships, because everything's going to be destroyed and removed. Right? It says, but he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God, and he shall be a governor in Judah and Ekron as the Jebusite. So the Ekronites, right, those men of Philistine, they're going to be like the Jebusite, because the Jebusite was in our land. They lived amongst us, right? So when the African and the Hamite is brought low and removed out of that land, like it prophesies in the book of Zechariah, the 14th chapter, there would no longer be, right? Let's get it verbatim, right? No longer be, right, that Hamite, that Jebusite in the house of the Lord. That's going to be the same. They're going to be replaced by those men. They're going to be the new Esau. Once Esau is exterminated, the chief nation that's going to be hated and the lowest in the kingdom will be the Africans. Right? This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14. Right? And I'm going to start at verse 20. And in that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto the Lord. The same way the bells was upon the high priest, right, is the same way in Exodus 39. The same way the bells are going to be upon our horse, meaning our beasts are going to be above the nations in the kingdom. Because didn't the beasts get to go inside of the house in slavery? The beasts, they got treats. They sat in the front seat of the car. Right? A lot of people, they treat their dogs better than they treat people. Homeless people. They groom them. They pare their nails. They put their little sweaters on them. They got their own cushion beds. They got a dog house in the backyard. So our animals and our flock is going to be above in the kingdom these other nations. And the pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls of the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. And all that sacrifice shall come and take of them and see therein. And in that day there shall no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. So the Canaanite will be removed out of that land, utterly annihilated and removed out of the land of Israel. They're no longer going to dwell. Again, from the time of Genesis, the 3rd chapter, if you have ears to hear, to the time of David, time of Joshua, all the way during the time, you understand, that we're living in now, right? These nations have always lived amongst them, right? During the time of Judges, the 3rd chapter, the Lord left nations to prove us, right? We cut off the great thumb and the different things in Joshua, Judges, the 1st chapter, verse 4 all the way down. Those kings, those are our ancient enemies. Goliath, these are all Africans, man. They're going to no longer be in the house of the Lord. For the Lord of hosts have spoken it. We go back to the book of Zechariah chapter 9. It says, and I will encamp about mine house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them anymore. For now have I seen with my own eyes. So when we get the spoil, we gather up these men, we fortify the nation and building it up, understanding what needs to be built, understanding they're bringing it in from ships. The land will be blessed when our feet tread upon it. It's another prophecy that's going to take place during the time of the kingdom being built up and us having slaves, that the land will restore things that were once taken away from it. Its grass, its fertilization, the beasts, the liveliness, the air, all of those things will be restored through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 61. Get this quick precept. I'm going to start at verse 11. Right? I'm going to start at 10. And I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul should be joyful in my God, for he have clothed me with garments of salvation. So this is during the time where we're redeemed and saved. It says, and he have covered me with the robe of righteousness, right? We're clothed in the law, statutes, and commandments, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself, right, with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden calls the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all nations. So the same way the earth brings forth its bud in the garden, it flows. In those days, the praise of all of us and us being famous is going to come upon all the nations, man. And all of the nations are going to have to praise you. They're going to have to call you the city of righteousness, the city of truth, the men of the Lord, right? The priests of the Most High God. And all of these things are going to be restored and built up until you again to your first estate, man. Let me get this real fast. This is the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 62 and verse 4. Thou shalt no more be terminate forsaken, neither shall thy land anymore be termed desolate. So it's desolate right now because of the spirit and the inhabitants thereof in the land. So during the time of the Lord, when we tread back upon it and restore back the spirit of truth in the land, the grass is going to grow. That's a prophecy. But thou shalt be called Helpelah, and thy land Beulah, for the Lord delighteth in thee, and thy land shall be married. Right? Let's get that in the Hebrew. Right? For brothers that may not know. For brothers that may not know. Right? So I can bear with me. It's Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 4. So it's no longer going to be deemed, right, to utter against, to avouch. It's no longer going to happen in those days, right? It said that land should be called Help Elizabeth. My delight is in her. So the Lord's going to delight back again into his inheritance and his land, right? My delight is in her, right? And it says thy land, Beulah, which is to marry, rule over, possess. So again, this is back to us restoring our first estate. And what is our first estate? Really the land, man. Again, when I quoted Jeremiah 17:4 earlier on in the lesson, that inheritance that was taken away from us was the land. So we're going to be married back unto the land, back unto her. It says, for as a young man married a virgin, so shall thy sons marry thee. And as the bridegroom rejoiceth over the bride, so shall thy God rejoice over thee. I have set watchmen upon thy walls. Right? It's changing the context. But the point of the spirit, right, is that in those days, the land will be brought and restored back unto us, man. See, during the times of judgment, like in Hosea, the 4th chapter, the Lord judged the land, judged the crops, judged the visitation of it. Let's get that in the book of Hosea chapter 4. This is Hosea chapter 4 and verse number 3. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of the heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. So during the time of judgment, what does the Lord do? He takes away things, man. And what does he do? He takes away the beast. The Lord said during the Babylonian captivity, the Lord had the wild beasts to change their habitations in the time of Jeremiah. You think the beast that was once during the time of David is the same beast that's in the land now? No. Why? Because the Lord caused those beasts to change. So as things are getting built up, we're in our land, the grass will grow. The beast will come back. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 9, in verse, Salaki, bear with me. Salaki, I believe this is what I want. Jeremiah chapter, I believe it's 9. Salaki, bear with me. Get this quick precept in Jeremiah chapter 9. Yeah, I'm looking right at it. Jeremiah chapter 9 verse 10. For the mountains right? I will take up a weeping and a wailing, and for the habitation of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burnt up so that none can pass through them. Neither can men hear the voice of the cattle. Both the fowl of the heaven and the beasts are fled. They are gone. So the Lord said, look, man, these beasts are gone. They're no longer in the land, and everything that's going to dwell in it now are dragons, vipers, the unclean creatures. Those different things, they're going to be the ones that dwell in the land. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36. This is Ezekiel chapter 36. And I want to start at verse number 8. It says, but ye, O mountains of Israel, shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. So as we're coming to restore and build up with slaves, the land will start to shoot forth branches. Should be like En Gedi. Should be like the Garden of Eden. Or I believe it says that in the book of Isaiah, man. Right, let me get this quick visual. So it's going to start to be built back up to look beautiful. Trees, twigs, valleys, brooks, rocks, grass, life, leaves. It's going to be beautiful, man. And again, this is a prophecy that has to take place. It's a lot, again, it's a lot that's going to take place during the time of getting the kingdom in order, during the time of slavery. A lot of prophecies in the midst are going to come to pass. Life, beasts, you understand? Let me get Exodus real fast. Let me get this quick precept. Now, I'm going to come back to Ezekiel chapter 36. But the Lord doesn't, destroy the land too fast or do something to the land too fast, because the course of the order will be off. You go to the book of Exodus chapter 23. I'm going to start at verse 27. I will send my fear before thee, and I will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come, and I will make all thy enemies turn their backs into thee. I mean, everybody's going to be afraid of us in the kingdom of heaven, right? Especially during the time, in the ancient world where the Lord was with us, and we're coming into, the land of Canaan. And I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites from before thee. So the Lord drove out the nations, and I will not drive them out before thee in 1 year. So the Lord said, look, man, I'm going to take them out the land, but it ain't going to be that fast. It's going to take time. I'm going to drive them out in a year, lest the land become desolate. Because different animals, they have different offices, different insects, fertilization, bees, honey, flies, they take up carcasses. You got the vultures, the kinds, the hawks, the eagles. You have these different animals and creatures. They do different things. It says, and the beasts of the field multiply against it. So if it's too many dead bodies, then that's going to draw in beasts, unclean beasts, to feed and take away from, the land. But by little and little will I drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land. So, I mean, when these slaves die, they're going to have to literally dig their own pits, do their own things. It's not just going to be a complete bloodbath of just a bunch of dead bodies, because according to the law, it'll bring unclean beasts. Those dead bodies and multiple volumes of people are going to be burned with fire. And the Lord's going to do away with that land, or destroy and utterly consume that land. So everything's going to have to be in order, again, with your mind and your ancient mentality of how things are going to be done. Not just going to be doing what you want to do in the kingdom. It has to be according to what? The laws, the statutes, and the commandments, and judgment. Let me get that. Let me go back to that. Ezekiel chapter 36 and 8. So again, another prophecy is the land restoring its fruit. It says, behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and ye shall be tilled and sown. So right now, how does Jerusalem look, man? Again, horrible. Look at this, man. It's the best picture you can show of grass when I put in grass, man. That's the best you can show. Spotted grass. Salaki. Spotted grass, man. That's the best you can show. This looks horrible. And it's supposed to be the Holy Land. Look at this. That's the best you could show. Let's go back to it. It says, tilled and sown. Again, that's through labor. And I will multiply men upon you. And all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the city shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be builded. Who is it builded by? The slaves. So during this time, it's going to be restoring grass. Again, grass isn't just going to shoot up out of nowhere. This isn't the creation. Right? When you go to the book of 2nd Esdras, let me get this quick precept. The 5th chapter. The Lord said innumerable. Let me get this quick precept. Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 5. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 5, and I want to start. Let me see what I want. Salaki, bear with me. I want to get this quick precept. 2nd Esdras. Bear with me. Come on, I want to get 2nd Esdras 6 and 44. That's what I want. It's 2nd Esdras 6 in verse. I'm going to start at 43. For as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit. So that doesn't happen but during the time of the creation. So don't think in the kingdom, when you get back to Jerusalem, that it's going to completely just look nice. Again, from physical building to palaces, the streets, to gates being formed, to literally cattle coming back into the land, and on top of that, the trees and the fruit. So during the time of the creation, it was innumerable. Like when you watch certain movies, if they do show it, they show grass coming up and everything was created up at once. That literally happened. It says innumerable fruit and many diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. So the 3rd day, innumerably and immediately, those things spoke forth. But in the kingdom, it's not going to happen that way. Again, it's going to take time, right? It's a little bit more on this. It says, and I will multiply upon you man and beast. So multiply means what? It's going to take time. I'm going to multiply unto you, right? It's going to happen. Man and beast, and they shall increase and bring fruit. So as this land is being inhabited and fruit is being formed, we have to keep the law. We have to continue to go back to keep the law. Now, according to the law, when certain things are formed and grown on the land, you have a Sabbath of rest for the land. But then you have a 3rd and 4th year of the harvest of the land. Let's get that real fast. Let's go to Leviticus 19. And, you know, these damn crackers and these gooks, these demons, they may get hungry. You know, the land may be getting built up. They work and they may see a grape and they looking like this and they take a grape. Hey, And it's the first year or the second year of that grape, man. It wasn't the third. And it damn sure wasn't the fourth. So he got to get his lash, man. He got to get his 50 lashes, man. Right? You got to know these things. As this land starts to increase and grass starts to grow and fruit starts to form, that fruit is for you, man. That fruit is not for them. Let's read this. Let's go to the mighty book of Exodus. Leviticus. All right. Chapter 19. And I'm going to start at 23. And when you shall come into the land, again, the land in the spirit is the kingdom of heaven. The land in the ancient world was the land of Canaan. And shall have planted all manner of trees for food. And again, as the Lord increases these things in prophecy, they're not going to immediately sprawl up like it did in the creation. He will multiply them and bring you back to your old estate. And all manner of trees for food. Then should you count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. But guess who isn't going to count it uncircumcised? Esau, Moab, Ammon, Japheth, Ishmael, Elam. They're not going to care. So again, it's going to be so many things they're transgressing that's going to cause you to beat them. But are you just going to be beating them just because? It's not really written. I wouldn't say it's a sin. But at the mind you're going to be in the kingdom, you're going to be so wise and so knowledgeable with so much that everything they do that's transgressing the hundreds of laws you know, you're going to have to judge them according to the law. And you shall not be ashamed to cause the side of the evil servant to bleed. So it's 3 years shall be counted uncircumcised unto you, and they shall not be eaten thereof. And that's a lot of temptation for these nations, especially as they're working. Coconuts, watermelons, grapes, pomegranates, all these things are going to be in the land. This is stuff you got to think about in slavery. Now, I didn't want to just make this video and just read, not that anything is wrong with it, but, you know, Psalms 140, let me get it, 149, you know, and just say how the judgment is written. Psalms chapter 58, right? Happy is he, right? Let me get that real fast. Let's get Psalms 58. Yeah, you're going to dash them. You're going, you know, destroy them, you know. Brothers know these precepts. But again, the prophecy and the law has to take an effect with your mind as a king as you have slaves like Solomon, like David, like Yahushua, like real kings do. This is Psalms chapter 58, verse 11. Start at 10. The righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. That's another reason and way the land has to be cleansed according to the law. So, I mean, we kind of skipped the step. You got to wash the land. And the only way it could really be cleansed is by the blood of him that shed it. So we wash the land. You know, I mean, it's a whole lot. Again, that this is a whole thing. It's a 5-7 part series, man. We're not gonna get all these precepts for sake of time, but it says, so that the man shall say, verily there is a reward for the righteous. Verily he is a God that judgeth in the earth. She said, like, he's a God that judges in the earth. Verse 24. But in the 4th year of the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Lord withal. So that's literally what you give, you understand, unto the Lord. The first of your increase. So you have the 3rd year, it's uncircumcised. The 4th year, it's of the Lord. It says, and in the 5th year should ye eat thereof, the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. Now, I mean, if you have slaves, you got a 4-year-old, 3-year-old Moabite, and he's just running around, he's plucking grapes. Guess what's going to have to happen to him, man? He got to get judged and whooped and beaten. My brother can't say, well, that's unjust. He's a child. He didn't know. Well, these nations have to learn the law, statutes, and commandments. Same way we got to learn their laws with a stoplight. Their judgments, okay, you get 3 to 5 if you do this. Handgun, you know, you grab that, it's 10 years automatic. Now you got to switch or automatic XYZ, that's automatic 30. Same way, you know, in their society and their different things, they're going to have to know. That's Micah, the 4th chapter. That's Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. Let me get this quick precept in the book of Micah. Then I'm going to get back to this point. This is Micah chapter 4 in verse number 1. And in the last days, it shall come to pass that in the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established, in the top of the mountains, right? In the top of the nations, right? And it shall be exalted above the hills, right? The lower nations. And people shall flow into it. Why are they flowing into it? Because they have to. They're commanded to give tributary unto the kings of the earth, the priests of the earth. Don't paint it all out beautiful. They're coming to it, but they want to serve the Lord. They want to come up to the house of prayer. Don't water down these ancient prophets in the spirit of their judgment through manipulation and doctrine. Let me get this quick precept, right? Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? I'm going to link this up. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 68. This is Psalms chapter 68, right? And I'm going to start at verse, right, number 21. But God shall wound the head of his enemies. So who are the enemies? The other nations. And the hairy scalp of such as one as goeth on still in his trespass. So the Lord's going to rebuke, overthrow the nations for their wickedness. The Lord said, I will bring again from Bashan, and I will bring my people again from the depths of the sea. So from the isles, from afar off, he's going to bring us again. That thy foot may be dipped in the blood of thy enemies, and the tongue of thy dogs in the same. So we got to dip our foot in the blood of the enemy, meaning what, man? We got to trample them underfoot. It's judgments and prophecy that we have to beat these nations, man. There's no getting around. There's no softly serving Israel. You cannot softly serve a master, man, unless it's your Hebrew servant in the law. We shouldn't treat him as your brother. It says, they have seen thy goings, O God, even thy goings of my God, the King, in his sanctuary. They've seen the prophecies in the spirit of the Heavenly Father through his son Yahushua and the priests in the world. The singers went before, they players of instruments followed after. Amongst them, they were playing with timbrels. Bless ye God in the congregation, even the Lord of the fountain of Israel. Right? Let me dive down, get to the point. Right? Verse 29. Because of thy temple at Jerusalem shall kings bring presents unto thee. So when they're coming, you know, understand, to the top and they're flowing unto it, don't make it seem like they're flowing, or don't ever think that they're flowing because they just want to serve the Most High. Again, they're serving the Lord for one reason only. That's not to be destroyed or beaten. That's it. That's the only reason why they're doing that. Because if they don't, they're going to be judged. Let me read that again. Because of thy temple at Jerusalem shall kings bring presents unto thee, rebuke thy company of spearmen, the multitude of bulls with the calves, right, of the people, till everyone submit himself with pieces of silver. Rebuke the company of spearmen, man. Meaning get on people ASS, man. Beat them until they submit themselves, man. That's what the Lord's saying. So as they're bringing up presents and they're coming, don't read Isaiah 60 like a Christian, Micah 4 like a Christian, Isaiah 2 like a Christian. Go through the precepts. Through thy precepts, I should get understanding, man. Therefore, I hate every false way. It says, till everyone submit himself with pieces of silver, scatter thou the people that delight in war. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hand unto God. Sing, O king, ye kingdoms of the earth. Sing, O sing praises unto the Lord Salah, man. So the Lord going to force you to sing it to him. And you're going to do that until you submit yourselves unto him. You go to Psalm chapter 46. Let's read this. Right? It says, therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and through the mountains be carried in the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with swelling thereof. Salah. There is a river, the stream whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. So everybody's going to make way for the kingdom of heaven. God is in the midst of her, right? Through Yahushua. She shall not be moved. God shall help her. And that right early, the heathen raged. The kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us, and the God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease. How does he make war? Does he just go like this? And all of the wars cease, man? And all of the nations, they finally come into the Lord. You make the wars cease by taking down kingdoms. By war. By putting people in slavery and captivity. That's how you make wars cease. By taking their weaponry, their machinery, their refuge houses. All of the things that they have for protection, and breaking their plowshares, the plunge hooks, like you could read about, and cut their spears in asunder. He burned the chariot in fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Why is he saying he's going to be exalted in the earth? Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 9. Because the same way he was exalted during the time of the Egyptian empire under Pharaoh is the same way he's going to be exalted again. His name has to be uplifted and magnified again in the earth. That's why these acts and these feats have to be done. Because that's going to take away the glory of the Most High if it doesn't happen. You can't softly tread and come into the Lord. No, he had to beat you down. Look at every empire and kingdom. Every one of them. They all had us in slavery. Every one of them, the Lord destroyed the ancient Egyptian empire, man. Literally with plagues. 10 mighty plagues. Destroyed the horse and their rider. Look how he did the Persians and the Medes, man. Look how he did the Babylonians. Look how he did the Romans. Look how he did the Greeks. Every empire fell rigorously and violently with death and bloodshed, man. Look at this. The Tang dynasty had black slaves, which are Chinese. And the Chinese not going to get away. During the Tang dynasty, slavery existed and black slaves were brought to China, primarily by Arab traders. So during the sub-Saharan slave trade, they were brought. Then you had the Japanese as well that had part of that. And they literally got busy with trade of the Israelites around the 5th century. It says, and these enslaved individuals refer to the term, well, I can't read this, man. Kung Lu, man. Kung Lu Nu. So that's your nigga word for Chinese, man. Kung Lu Nu. And what did they do? They had you to go to work, man. It says they were typically used as household servants, guards by wealthy families, and subject. Right, look at this. The Japanese, right? Now, the Japanese, they had slaves. It says, yes, Japanese dynasty, especially under the warlord Oda Nobunaga, had black slaves. Though this was not a large scale or a long-lasting institution, first prominent black man in Japan was enslaved African named Yasaki. Now, this was an so-called African American, which went to war for the Japanese in their army around the 1500s. and he went to war so good, he was named a samurai. So your first samurai were the Israelites. It's not your Japanese man. A Japanese man can't do anything against the children of Israel. Cut it out, man. No matter how many times you grab chopsticks, no matter how many times you grab anything. You can't come against the men of the Lord, man. Now, this is the Israelite during this time. He was a slave, but I guess he was a high-ranking slave that they used him on a leash to win wars and go to war. During the 15th century. These are your samurais. Again, what are original samurais? What are original warriors? What are 300 men that you read about or look at rather in the movie 300, man? Gideon Bibb did that, man. It says who came in Japan in 15, right? 79 in the service of a European Jesuit, while Yaki rose to become a samurai. Who was this? Was an exceptional case that enslaved people who came to the Europeans. So he was a samurai, man. Now, what is a samurai? For brothers that may not know, an exceptional warrior with a sword. Look at this. A member of a powerful military castle in Feru, Japan, especially a member of a class of a military retained of the Daimosuke. Literally meaning samurai, one who serves or those who serve. Meaning they're your warriors, your class, so-called of Japan warriors. But who was the main one, man? Who wrought their wars and won their battles? Right? Him amongst many. Him amongst many. You have the Pacific Islanders. Yes, Pacific Islanders, your people of Fiji, Funga, right? Your Tasmanians, all those islanders and those people, those Hawaiians, those men don't get away. You think slavery was only by the so-called white man? Yes, Pacific Islanders were involved in the slave trade as both victims, right, and predatories in some cases held African people as slaves. They call them blackbirding. All right, let's look up that word blackbirding. Look at this. In Fiji, Fiji, Hawaii, what's that definition? Blackbirding was a corrosive trade of indentured laborers, primarily from the Pacific Islands, to work in plantations in the 9th and earlier 20th century, man. This practice often involved the deception, fraud, and outright kidnapping, and is considered a form of slavery. Laborers known as Kanskis were taken places of like Australia, Fiji, and other colonies to work in harsh conditions, man. Stop taking up for the Hawaiian, man. And the Hawaiians are not Israelites. Cut it out, man. You hula hooping devils are not Israelites, man. Look at this. This happened on the islands too. How you think Benjamin got there? How you think Trinidad and St. Martin and everybody had a part in slavery? Every nation. I mean, we done ran through the Tang Hai dynasty, the Burdock, the Japanese, right? You also had the Arabian slave trade, which is the trans-Saharan Indian Ocean slave trade. You also had the Elam slave trade with the East Indians. So they had slavery. They had slave trade. I'm going through all of these different nations to prove and show you that we have worked under every nation under this earth in hard bondage and slavery, building up their empires, building up their streets, building up everything. So to think, Micah, the 4th chapter, these same nations, willingly or not, wants to serve and just come up, and it will be less harsh, so they won't be in slavery just because they can offer or want to offer or will offer tributary is madness, man. It's upright foolishness. The term Arab slavery refers to various slave trades historically carried out under Arab people in Muslim countries. That's something called the Muslim conquest, often involving the capture and transportation of sub-Saharan Africans. Now, who took a part of this, man? Who seen from afar the Arab slave trade and said, I want some of the East Indians, man? The slave trade that involved East Indian companies affected by Black people was called the Indian Ocean slave trade, sometimes also referred to the East African slave trade. This trade involved the capture of transportation of enslaved Africans from East Africa, right? Under who, man? Under Arabians, man. They had a part in this, right? When you're going through the history and you dive into it, that's the nation. Enslaved people were taken to the Arabian Peninsula in the Persian Gulf and the west coast of India. Some populations in present-day Pakistania and India and Sudus and Markaris and Slovakia are described from these enslaved people. These things we cannot forget. Look at this. And Africa. People know about the slavery in Africa. The physical Africans. And these nations, again, have taken part in it. So they're going to have to be the same ones through their respective regions and countries, cities, isles, to bring up that tributary. And they're going to have to be the ones working under us. Yes, slavery existed in Africa and was practiced by various African groups, right? Meaning they're different tribes. Now, I wanted to touch on something, but time has escaped me. I don't want to make this a million hour lesson. I want to get a couple more and kind of wrap it up through the spirit. But you had something that is called shipbuilding. And I was touching on it earlier. I kind of jumped the gun. But as these nations are coming, they're going to have to build their own ships. They have to build. Everything's going to have to be built. All the machinery, all the help, all the science, all of those things, that takes away from bondage and slavery. Let's put it in perspective. Even if you have the most obedient servant and slave, that's a Moabite, an Edomite, an Ammonite, or an African, whatever the case may be, doesn't take away from the fact that you have to beat them because they're not going to know the law. They're going to go off, and by the law, you have to judge them. That's precepts. 2, which cuts that. And 3, they're going to have to work in hardcore bondage. You're either a slave or you're being put to death. There's no middle ground at all. It says shipbuilding and the construction of ships and the other floating vessels in modern times normally takes place in specialized facilities like a shipyard, right? With all of this machinery, that's how they build ships. Shipbuilders, also called shipwrights, follow specialized occupations that trace its roots before recorded history, right? It says until recently, which the development of complex, non maritime technologies, a ship has often represented the most advanced structure that society building it could produce. So now you have warships, you have tanks, submarines, different things that these machinery have formed. Some key industrious advances were developed to support shipbuilding. See, in this world we living in this westernized world, they have different things to support that, but they're not going to have that in the kingdom, man. For intense and sawing of timbers by mechanical saws, propelled by windmills, in Dutch shipyards during the first half of the 7th century. Design, process saw early adoption. Well, let me get down to the point that I want. That's really it. Shipbuilding and ship repairs, both commercial and military, are referred to a Navy engineering. Right? Look at this. The construction of boats is similar activity called boat building. So you have the ancient boat building. It's really the point that I want to dive into. The modern day ancient, it's a dismantling of ships is called shipbreaking. Earliest evidence, let me get down to the point. Yeah, this pretty much the point. Salaki, bear with me. So you can see the picture right here. This was ancient shipbuilding. Like Noah didn't have a machine, man. Noah didn't, get all of the machines together. He flipped all the switches and his arms got sore because he had so many flip switches he had to flip, man. No, he had to literally build these things. Now, in the ancient world, they had to literally build a ship. Through the stealing and invading lands of oil. See, certain countries can't even have ships and build ships if they didn't invade lands to steal resources. It's not even really supposed to be like this, but through the predestination and iniquity increasing in the earth, it has come into pass. But getting back to our first estate, where there's no robbery, no thieving, no lies, because the officers, captains, and governors over the nation are going to govern this earth. Everything has to be done through work. No more stealing. No more invading lands. No more stealing resources. No more tapping intelligence. None of these things are going to happen anymore. So this whole world is going back to its first estate, which is by hard work, actual planting, not going into labs, creating chicken and these fast technology and scientific ways of destruction. You got to physically take a chicken, kill it according to the law. You're going to have peace offerings that are no good after the third day. You're going to have to go back to these laws and know these laws. And if you don't know the laws, you will be put to death, man. You will be judged. Now, going back to this, it says, shipbuilding then saw a steady improvement in design, right, techniques and introduction of new materials. Iron was used for more than fastening nails and bolts, as structural components such as iron knees were introduced, with examples existing in the mid-18th century and from the mid-19th century onwards, right? This was partly led by shortage of compassed timber. So they had timber that got shorted. They said, you know what? We can't stop the ships. We can't stop the sailing. So now we got to start using iron. We got to start using machinery. As time goes on, obviously, intelligence increases. And so did shipments. So did the structures. But we're not going to run out of timber anymore. We're not running out of timber anymore. Because the Lord is going to give the increase. And they're going to have to chop trees. They're going to have to fasten pins. And they're going to have to do what it takes to build ships. How hard is it to build a ship without machinery? Building a ship without machinery is extremely hard, especially for large vessels. It requires immersement, physical labor, man. it takes a whole lot of physical labor. Again, don't just think that slavery is just somebody picking your tree all day. It's so low level. It's not enough work. It's something a woman would do. That's not anything harsh, laborious. For a task like shaping wood, moving heavy components, and maintaining structural integrity, man. I mean, if you off in a little bit of your machinery, so like you're not your machinery, your agricultural way you shipping things and doing things and getting everything up, got to be according to the temperature. That wood, that gopher wood, right? The Archaean wood, right? Or any type of wood during that time. Hey, look, you got to deal with it. The difficulty depends on the ship size and complexity. But even small boats can be challenging, requiring significant skill, time, and effort, physical effort. With modern building techniques that reduce complexity, often still relying on power tools, specialized materials like epoxy and fiberglass, right? Look at this. Physical labor. Every task from shaping and joint lodging timber to hauling materials requires immense human strength and endurance, man. You got to shape the wood. And again, all of this was an ancient way of making a ship. Again, it's going to take time. So when you think of Esau in his captivity, before he's exiled and destroyed, I'm going to go back to Micah 4, but his life is going to be the most hardest part of slavery in the beginning of the kingdom, when we round up their kings. The beginning ground level of slavery for Esau, from his children to the time they're 90 and 80 and die, to building, will be the most hardest parts for ships. They'll be the most hardest part of slavery until things are built up, and then it will be lessened. Well, let me get this real fast. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. And I'm going to start at verse 17. That made the world as a wilderness. He stole everything and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But, Shalaki, but thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the remnant of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden underfoot. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. So they're cast out like an abominable branch. They're to be done away with. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. Of course not. You have different, you defile the land with certain bodies, man. When Yahushua was resurrected, where was he resurrected? In a, let me get that real fast. I said, I don't want to pull 1,000 precepts to get off point. The point was he was resurrected whenever no man was laid, right? So that he wasn't defiled with the dead. You're not going to be joined with them in burial because our people aren't going to die. The earth is never going to cover our blood anymore, never be defiled. There's so many ways you could break this down and really go into this, how the dead body of these devils, the worm shall feed sweetly on thee, like it says in Job chapter 17. Because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people, the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. That's a cut. If there are people that are going to be able to have a lesser slavery or not be enslaved at all, or not evil or off, or they could repent, why are they the seed of evildoers? Their whole seed is evil. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. And when it says prepare slaughter, Again, there's twofold. That's for those that will not serve. We're going to put them to death. And they still can't escape. And we're going to have them in slavery. So after a set amount of time, we're going to destroy and slaughter them after they build up the kingdom. But first, let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. I got a couple more. I'm going to get Isaiah chapter 24. Because we didn't talk about yet through the Spirit how we're going to gather them. This is Isaiah chapter 24. And I'm going to start right at verse number 20. It says, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Right? Those are through the bombs, the destructions, the mountains being taken out of their courses. Everything's being pushed and moved out of its natural state. So the earth, meaning the land, shall reel to and fro through bombs and destruction like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, meaning different kingdoms and cities will be removed, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, meaning evil shall be increased in those days. Matthew 24. And it shall fall and not rise again. So after the Lord destroys these kingdoms, they shall never rise again. And it shall come to pass, that's after the destruction, that the Lord shall punish the hosts of the high ones that are on high. Who are your high ones? Your Oppenheimers, man. Right? Your Rothschilds, your elites, your Amalek, man. So-called Jews that are on high, and the kings of the earth, so like the kings of the earth upon the earth. So you're going to have to punish those men. These are your chief men that have to be punished. 10 times out of 10, they're old men. So the last part of their life has to be as strenuous and laborious and violent because they're on their way out. And those kings that are classified as kings, not that they're actually a king, but their society, class, estate of the society is so high, the Lord is just calling them kings. And they should be gathered together as prisoners. Now, how are they gathered? Through a military formation. The Lord's going to send out men. You can read about that in the book of Micah. Let's get that in Micah chapter 2. Come back to this. Let's go to Micah chapter 2 in verse 12. It's the book of Micah chapter 2 and verse 12. I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of thee. I mean, he's going to gather us all up from the four corners of the earth. I will surely gather the remnant of Israel, those that are far off. I will put them together as the sheep of Bozrah, reading one fold, as the flock in the midst of their fold, right? They shall make great noise by the reason of multitude of men. So we're going to be making great noise off of the bloodshed and the destruction and the rejoicing of our enemies as the Lord brings us together and sends us out for war and for capturing the kings of the earth. The breaker has come up before them. They have broken up. They have passed through the gate and they have gone out by it, meaning we're sent out. And their king shall pass before them and the Lord on ahead of them. Now, I've never been in a battle or war where the Lord wasn't ahead of me, man, physically. You can say, okay, during the time of David, during the time of, Judas Maccabees. Yeah, that's spiritual, but it's going to be physically on the earth where the Lord's going to be on ahead of us and he's giving us charge. Go here, go there, and we're going to be gathered together and we're going to be sent out. When we're sent out, again, we're going to gather the heathen. It says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered from their underground bunkers, their different shelters, like Isaiah, the 2nd chapter. It says, in the pit, they shall be shut up in prison. So we're going to gather them up like King David did, right? And second, let me get that real fast. We have to. It's according to the laws and the commandments on the hand of Joab, right? Get this quick precept. First Chronicles 18. So like, is that Kings 18? So like, bear with me. Get this quick precept. I believe that's First Chronicles 18. First Chronicles 18. Let's go to verse 13. Now, who did this? Really, when he went to war, David, he sent out men under him to capture these cities, right? Now, when you're actually going into this, I don't want to read this whole thing, but nevertheless, we're going to dive into it. It says, I'm going to start at 12. Moreover, Abishai, the son of Uriah, slew the Edomites in the Valley of Salt, 18,000. This wasn't the first time we invaded them and slew them. And he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. So again, a garrison is the same thing as prison, the same thing that's prophesied in Isaiah 24, that they should be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in a pit. A pit is a garrison and should be shut up in prison, the same way David shut them up. It says, thus the Lord preserved David whatsoever he went, and he reigned over those men. And again, you had Abishai. You had Joab, Benaniah, the three mightiest of men, Eleazar, right? They drew sword, right? You had these men that were under David's mighty men that he sent out. David represents the king. You're going to have the king, Yahushua, is going to send out the mighty men. And the mighty men are going to do the same exact thing. They're going to take cities. There are times where David didn't even go to war, that he sent out men that went to war. Like Joab. Joab went to war in 2 Samuel, I believe, 12, and he took the city by himself. But it was through the hand of David, meaning it was David's army. Let me get this quick precept. 26. And Joab fought against Rabbah, and the children of Ammon took the royal city. So like the children of Ammon and took the royal city. So Joab went out and he took the city, man. And Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. So David didn't even go to war. Again, I'm bringing this up because Yahushua is going to have to physically raise up every single time something need to be done in the kingdom, huh? You have men that are under that handle war as well in David's kingdom. So in the same way, Yahushua is going to be upon the throne. You're going to have the 12, you got the 144,000, and we're going to delegate war and structure and judgment in the earth. And during this voyage in time, this is the 144,000 doing this. Now, Yahushua, when he goes to war, he's going to go to war the first time. The second time, we're going out. That's why the Lord said in the book of Isaiah, right, there was no man with me. There was no one with me. Why did he say that? Because during the first time he's destroying these nations, you're still going to be in your distraught body, man. You still going to be bleeding. You may be missing a thumb by that time. You may have one leg. You may be in chains. So the first time he destroys the kingdoms, leaping upon mountains and destroying the kingdoms, he's going to do it by himself. But the second time, in the second wilderness, we place crowns upon our heads and he sends us out, that's going to be us by the Spirit of the Lord upon us. It's Isaiah chapter 63, right? In verse 6. 5 is the point. And I looked and there was none to help. That don't mean Yahushua needed help. Meaning I'm going to destroy these kingdoms by myself and get the preeminence of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. It says, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore, my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury upheld me. So his fury the first time is going to be issued out as he comes on earth. But again, a second time is what we're reading about, where you talk about slavery and gathering them up. Going back to Isaiah chapter 24 in verse 22 again. And they should be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and it should be shut up in the prison. And after many days should they be visited. Like brothers always say, man, they're going to be urinating on themselves. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be starving. And what are they going to eat in the kingdom? You think Esau is going to eat in the kingdom in these different nations? It's going to go back to the what? It's going to go back to the law. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 14. You got to know what to feed them. You got to know how to bring up the kingdom. You got to know what to teach them. You got to know the judgments against them. Again, if you do make it, Most High willing, everybody watching will do, that'll be already in you. But it's good to study, to know these things. How can you really know what a kingdom deserves to have and needs to maintain itself if you don't know? All you know is 1,000 precepts on his demise. No judgments against him if he breaks them. If you had a kingdom and everybody's going off, what would be the judgment against it? From theft to XYZ, we have to issue all these things out. It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 12, Salakia chapter 14, verse 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself, that give it unto the stranger. So different, beasts that dieth of itself, that's going to be their food. It says, that is in thy gates, and it shall be eaten, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. Right? So, these nations aren't going to eat the fat, drink the sweet, and have the land that the Most High yields forth. That's going to be for us. Whatever scraps and crumbs they gather together to survive will be according to the law. It says, then the moon shall be confounded and the sun ashamed when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem before his ancients gloriously. Right? Let me go back to the book of Micah. Get maybe one or two more and close out. All right, let's go to Micah chapter 4. Let's finish breaking that down. Many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the Lord, so like the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word right from Jerusalem. That's literally why they're coming up. Again, let's read it again in the spirit. And many nations shall come. They have to come. Why? Because they have to know the law. If they don't know the law, then judgments will come to them. It says in Zechariah, the 14th chapter, if they don't come up to the new moons and the feast days, the Lord will judge their land and they will not have rain, meaning they won't have fruit, meaning they will suffer a famine, meaning they will die a grievous death. So the more they know and the more obedient they are, the more they can survive and live without chastisement. And they're going to know that. The same way Jake in slavery, they look down. They act like they couldn't read because they know if they do certain things, they would die. They would get beaten. So this is their mentality. Come, let us go up. They have to. Because if not, what's going to happen? Judgment. Right? Let me get a quick precept on that. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14. Right? It's the book of Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King of the Lord of hosts and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, if this is the remnant of men that willingly want to do it, why are the judgments set against those men? It says, and it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And the Lord is going to judge them again with a grievous famine. It says, and many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, because they know the judgments, and to the house of the God of Jacob to worship. And he will teach us of his ways, because they need to know this to survive. And we will walk in his paths, because they will understand if they don't. For the law shall go forth of Zion. That's the only way else we can find it. And the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Where else we going to get it? And he shall judge many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. So they know this. That's why they're coming up. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares. And another part of prophecy, again, it's the last point, is that it's going to take time for all these nations and their remnants that are in their bunkers to take out all of their guns that they have in case somebody try to invade them, whatever the case may be. Swords, machine guns, rifles, guns, knives, bucklers, shield, all of these things got to be beaten and burned. There could be no more war upon the earth, because we're going to have spiritual powers. We're not going to need a weapon in the kingdom. Angels don't need a weapon. You pull up on an angel and he's looking for his sword in his sheath, man. He doesn't need it. The angels can't die. The angels can have a sword to cut you in two. That's written. They don't need it. The angels blinded the men in Maccabees as the men of the Lord went to war. The angels can blind you. Try to run up on an angel if you want right now. See if the angel don't put you in a delusion, have you in a trance, multiply, disappear. We're going to have spiritual power in the kingdom. So we're not going to physically need any carnal weaponry, because we're not going to be able to be devoured. It says, and their spears into plunge hooks, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. It says, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken it. So the Lord is saying, look, it's going to be peace in the kingdom. So slavery, violence, judgments, destruction, all of that is a pivotal, important part of prophecy and understanding how this is going to take place in the latter days of the earth. Something to look forward to, man. But let me get this quick precept. We get two more and close out. Let's get the class. Psalms, right? Chapter 137. In verse, right, number 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. During the Babylonian captivity, an invasion rather, right? As they came in with multiple voyages to destroy and capture, the children of Edom stood on the other side as they rejoiced at the destruction and violence and bloodshed of the children of Israel. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee, as thou hast served us. So you have to reward the whole nation. You have to. It doesn't matter. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. So this is a part of prophecy and slavery in the kingdom. And again, after a set amount of time and years, you're going to have to take the remnant of the Edomites and destroy them and kill them. Now the men are going to die off that we don't kill. And the women, after being concubines, are going to get old and they're going to wither away. It's prophesied that we're going to kill them, but nevertheless, even if you never touched them, they're not going to multiply, because the men are going to be taken out the way and the women are going to eventually get old and they're going to wither away and they will be extinct. and they're never going to be brought back. And the seed of evildoers shall never be renowned again upon the face of the earth. The Lord said, I shall not cover that face with cities, paraphrasing greatly. In the book of Isaiah, right, chapter 14. But let me get this closing precept. Let's go to the mighty book, right, of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6. Right? And verse number 54, the class. After these, Adam, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. So everything that these nations inherit, that you read about in the table of nations in Genesis, the 10th chapter, was created for them to bring up to us. It's not created for you to travel and sweat and lift and find all of the resources on earth, nor was it created in such a way where all of the resources are one place, because it will impact and overthrow the world. It needs to be spread abroad and in measure and in weight. The Lord loves just weights and balances. It says, for the other people, as for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be likened unto spittle, and like to the abundance of them that drop, that fall from the vessel. And now, O Lord, behold these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and devour us. But we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, they only begotten, thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. So we're given into their hands until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Man. Read about that in the book of Luke 21. Read about that in the book of Revelation, the 11th chapter, right? Matthew, the 24th chapter. There's a time, right? Genesis, right? The 15th chapter, where the Gentiles need to be fulfilled of their set amount time of ruling. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? So our inheritance again is the world and everything in it. How long shall this endure? So Ezra, on a spiritual level, if you have ears to hear, he was talking about, when are we going to possess the first estate, how you created things? When are these prophecies? When is the inheritance? When is the mercy, the promises? When are we going to finally inherit it? The things that you were spoken about. How long shall this endure? And that's the spirit we all should be in. It's a lot that we should look forward to at the kingdom. Not just on one level, but on all levels. First and foremost, we get to see our King Yahweh Shai in the flesh, to serve him in sincerity and truth. That's about the first reason I could think of why I would want to walk into the kingdom. And second and foremost, to see my people back to their first estate in righteousness and in truth. And third, to inherit all of the prophecies of destruction and vengeance that has to take place of these other nations. But with that, my Lord willing, this was edifying. If it's of the spirit, I'll do a part 2, dive into something else through the Most High's mercy. I want to go into Revelation 19 and end that breakdown and various other precepts and breakdowns that the Most High puts in our spirit. I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God Yahweh, by Hashem HaMashiach, Malak Yahushua. Shalom.